What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Race show with your host. I'm Akeem.
And I'm Chanelle.
Hope all of you are doing well. We got an action-packed show today. But first and foremost, we like to check in because even though we travel amongst the same places, our perspective is different. So how was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. We got to see some friends and family in Raleigh. So, yeah, just always nice to spend time with your loved ones and people you don't get to see very often. So I really, really enjoyed and appreciated that this weekend.
And shout out to your mother, my mother-in-law, for this shirt. She got that from me, so we appreciate you, Miss P. Let's get into it because there were some very interesting news that has transpired in the track and field world. And we are talking about, track and field is set to become the first sport to introduce prize money at the Olympics. Gold medalists will get $50,000. Mm-hmm. And in the relays, that $50,000 will be split with each individual that participated in that relay. What do you think about this? Where does your thoughts go?
Honestly, I was a little shocked because as long as I've been in the sport, I just assumed that there was prize money at the Olympics. Yeah. So when I asked you, I was like, hey, when you won bronze, you got some money, right? And at first you were like, yeah, I got prize money. And then I was like, then you were like, wait, that was from Athletics Canada. That wasn't actual prize money. So, you know how I am. I started doing research and I just want to understand how this works. So apparently there's the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, who is ahead of all Olympic sports, right? Yeah. And so, but every single sport has its own governing body. And the IOC gives money to the governing bodies and allows these governing bodies to decide what they want to do with the money. And so this is the first time that a governing body has said, we're going to take some of this money and pay the athletes. And that the governing body of track and field is World Athletics. So World Athletics has decided, okay, gold medalists will receive $50,000 this summer at the 2024 Olympics. And you've heard both sides this week, oh, that's not enough. And you've also heard, well, it's a start. I'm more of it's a start because you got to start somewhere. And again, the first time ever that athletes will receive prize money is about time. And yeah, it may not be a lot, but we got to start somewhere. And they're saying in 2028 at the LA Games, gold, silver, and bronze medalists will receive money. Track and field. I don't know about other sports, but track and field is saying we're going to pay our medalists. So I know it's been said, you go to the Olympics and the honor is representing your country. They don't need money. No. These athletes, the sacrifice that it takes mentally, physically, emotionally to train your body to be an Olympian, you should be compensated financially for that. And so, yeah, I think most people were like me. The common, just everyday person probably assumed, these Olympians are getting paid by the at the actual Olympics, and that just wasn't the case, and that was news to me. So, what do you think?
Here's the joke that an Olympian told me. He said, "Man, 3 Olympians, gold, silver medal, go into the pawn shop." And he asked me, Akeem, who do you think came out with the most money? I'm like, gold for sure. He's like, they all came out with 0. And I didn't really understand when he was telling me that because I was like, that doesn't really make any sense to me. And then the older that you get, when I got there, man, it's a different space. Like the Olympics is just like how they watch NFL, Super Bowl, they watch NBA, they watch hockey, World Cup. These things don't come every single year. Mm-hmm. But every time that an Olympic campaign is here, sponsors come out of the woodworks and want to work with you. You look at the Olympics and you see all of the banners, you see the Samsung, you see the Visa, you see all these different things. There's a lot of money that's in the Olympics, but not for the athletes. And so this is a stepping stone. It's a great thing that it's doing this and you're able to make some from it. Mm-hmm. But the next step is what about second place? What about third place? What about the people who sacrifice the same amount, but they're coming away with nothing?
Yeah.
I remember Shout out to Steve Messler, classroom champions, Olympic gold medalist in the bobsled. He told me, he was like, man, the most important thing during the Olympics is not necessarily the Olympics, but what happens after. Because the following year, you have the title of being an Olympic gold medalist, and that's when you can make the most financial gain. And I never really understood that, right? It's one thing for somebody to say it, but then for you to experience it yourself, you're just like, okay. He used to say, Akeem, if you don't have a book, man, try to write a book. If you don't have, make sure you have something going on, because it's actually after the Olympics do you get a financial increase and opportunities to make more financial gains. So this is a great start. Let's just hope that this is the stepping stone for continuing progress every 4 years and so forth.
Yeah. And I hope this kind of motivates other governing bodies for other sports to get on board. Because like I said, it's only track right now. There's a lot of Olympic sports. So for it to only be track, it's a little surprising. But I think you got to start somewhere. And I think track doing this will hopefully motivate other sports to follow suit. So absolutely.
And one more thing to add, it is, don't get me wrong, it is a complete honor to represent your country. But at the same time, every single athlete that you see on TV during this time, they've earned that right. They've earned that right to be there, man. And you always want to feel appreciated for the work that you do, man. And I think if you want the country to be represented well, one of the best ways to do that is, man, release some of this financial strain. You know what I'm saying? So they've earned it.
And a lot of Olympians are struggling financially.
Some of them, to my knowledge, that I was learning coming in, they come out in an incredible amount of debt.
Wow.
And it shouldn't be like that.
Wow.
It shouldn't be like that. You know what I'm saying? And we understand the world is a business, all these different things, man. But man, if you appreciate, don't cheer for me when you just see me. If you really rock with me, man, cheer for me the whole time. Make sure I'm good, this and that, especially if it is an honor to represent your country. It's a great feat. It's a great earning time, earning space. But it's also just like, man, show me that you love me.
One of the best ways to show you is by compensating you financially. Bills have to be paid. People have to take care of themselves away from the sport. And so help them out financially. So yeah, great start, but we have a long way to go.
So as Chanelle said, hopefully other sports continue, other sports take after track and field and put a little bit of money up. You know what I'm saying? So track and field is the first sport. I'm going to believe it's not going to be the last sport. And so progress. Even if it's a little bit, it's still progress forward. So shout out to them for doing that. Now, other news that got mixed feelings. I'm not going to say mixed feelings because in the track and field space, not always united, but I feel like on the social sphere, we were a little bit united here. Flotrack has announced that it has acquired U.S. broadcast rights for the Diamond League starting in 2025. The price jumped up a pretty penny from 29. We're just going that to 30 plus from Peacock, who had it $5.99, and we was rocking with Peacock. We like Peacock.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, well, let's just start for the casual viewer. The Diamond League is the most prestigious league, for lack of better words, that professional runners can compete in, starting late April all the way through early September, mid-September. They travel the world and they compete in their respective events. It's an amazing experience. It's where track and field professional athletes want to be, is the Diamond League, and like you said, Peacock used to broadcast the Diamond League in the United States. And also that tied along with NBC and CNBC. So sometimes we even saw it on TV because Peacock is owned by NBC.
That was a good rhyme, sorry.
Yeah, so we got to see it on TV, or if you subscribe to Peacock, you got to watch some track and field for $5.99 a month. And it was great. And so this announcement that Flotrack is going to take over, not this year, but in 2025, like you said, it's the first time that every single track and field person on Twitter was united and said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay. Everyone said, I'm not paying that. I mean, diehard track fans were saying, I'm not paying $29.99. I'll watch the race after it's off on YouTube. I'll figure out a way to watch the races, but I'm not paying that. And that was the sentiment across the board. And it's just like, what are you guys doing? And then the chances of it being on TV, it's gone now, because now it's not tied to NBC or CNBC. So we're talking about furthering the sport, and this looks like we took a step back, because most people are not going to pay $29.99, and now it's not even on TV. Yeah. So it was a lot of people are upset. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, exactly right what you just said. It's like Olympics is finally, track and field is finally paying their athletes at the Olympics. So progress. And then we kind of take a step back here. It's every time something happens, you start to see, you ask more questions like, what's going on here?
Who's making these decisions?
Yeah, like who is making these decisions, and why are these decisions being made? And are they actually asking the consumers of the sport, and they want to get it more on TV. Mm-hmm. It was on TV and now it's not on TV. So now the question is, how are we going to get back to there on TV? Mm-hmm. And even from a financial standpoint, like, times are tough for everybody, right? So we got to make sure that we're making smart decisions. And we were just talking about some athletes aren't always getting paid. The people you see on TV, sometimes there are people at the Olympics who are representing their country, but they don't have a shoe contract. They don't have a sponsor. So everything has to be calculated in your financial plan. I got to put $30 now
a month.
Yeah, like I got to cut back on my protein. So there are things, right? And to be quite honest, like, look, Flotrack, I don't know anybody there, but they have done well for themselves. Yeah. Right. Yeah. To be able to even get into a position where they are able to buy the rights, they're remarkable from a business standpoint. But you should also know your consumers. And the coverage isn't always the greatest.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think last week or a few weeks ago, we talked about coverage of meets and how it's kind of not been so good, but the Diamond League coverage on Peacock and NBC, I thought that was a series. They do beautiful. A fantastic job of cover. The Diamond League meets are covered. It's short. The races are, if they're not showing the races, they're showing the field. It's a good coverage. So I don't know how it's going to be on Flotrack. Maybe I don't know if it'll be the same people, but it's just being broadcasted on a different platform now. I don't know what that's going to look like, but man, it was disappointing news.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of questions in this one, man. I would be very surprised. There are going to be people that pay for it, absolutely, because people love track and field. But it's like, man, I'm interested to see what those numbers look like. And also, if you're charging this much money, the quality better be fire. Like, I'm a person that, like, I may not, me, I don't care for clothes like that. But for some fresh produce, I'll pay a little bit more because I know the quality is going to be good and the nutrients are going to be good for me. So if you're charging this amount, man, I better be able, the megapixels better be right. I better be able to not, I want to see the heats, because sometimes they just show the finals. I want to see the heats, even if it's 60, I want to see it all. And so it's like the pricing has to be worth it. I just don't know if this is going to be worth it, that increase. At least, we'll see next year, but this was a kind of a shock for a lot of us. We weren't really expecting this.
Yeah, we're going to enjoy it this year, this Diamond League.
Oh, we're going
on Peacock this year.
Enjoy the mess out of this $5.99. Shout out to Peacock, man.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think, too, it's like, who else was in the running for this? Because most of these meets are predominantly overseas. So I'm just like, man, what about all these other companies overseas?
Yeah, well, this is the U.S. broadcast. Yeah. So the overseas, they'll use their own broadcast.
They should have brought this broadcast. They probably would do a good job too.
Yeah.
So again, it's interesting. that's our quick thoughts on it. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section below. And are you putting up 30 monthly consistently? Let us know in the comment section below. So those were some things that came to our mind, stuff that we both had thoughts on, and just wanted to get it out there and share with you all. Now let's talk about the weekend. There was a lot of competition happening this weekend. We didn't get to see all of them. We looked at a lot of them, but we watched mainly the Tom Jones, but there were some great performances in Bryan Clay. Tom Jones over in Florida, Gainesville, University of Florida. That was like a mini Diamond League. It was stacked. It was packed. The winds were cooperating to some extent. It was a great meet. What were your thoughts of the meet? Did anything stick out to you in this meet? What were some highlights for you?
Yes, I'm going to do something I never done before. I'm going to go in order. So I'm going to make my way from the 100 on up because there was a lot of highlights. So I'm going to start with the professional women's 100. I think I always respect when it's almost like the 2-minute barrier in the 800. Well, when women break that 11-second barrier, I'm always like, hey, let's celebrate them. So I know there was a collegiate who ran faster than the professionals, but I'm focusing on the pros, and 2 did break that 11-second barrier. Tamari Davis and Melissa Jefferson both went 10:94. So shout out to them. It's only April, and so if they keep that streak going, we'll see them at the trials. So and then just shout out to Talitha Diggs dropping down to the 100. She's a 400-meter specialist, went 11:0.
Very impressive.
That's fast.
Very impressive, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight her because it's not easy to go from the 4 to the 100. I mean, Fred Curley made it look easy, but it is far from that. So shout out to Talitha. Over to the women's professional 100-meter hurdles, Nia Ali, someone who always knows how to show up when it's time, but she showed up early this season and took the win in the 100-meter hurdles. A slightly negative, wind, and went 12:44. It's fast.
Women's hurdles, man, it's always competitive, and they don't dodge each other, man. And that's why these fast times are able to come.
That's so true. Okay, that's a good point, because I was like, 100 hurdles are always running fast, but it's because they have to.
You can't. It's
they show
deep.
up. They're not afraid to show up and race each other. That's a good point. Women's 400-meter on the collegiate side, we had a freshman run 49:95. Again, breaking that 50-second barrier. There's always those barriers that you want to break. And so just shout out to her. That race overall was fast. There was a lot of 50-point whatever, but for her to be the only one to break 50 as a freshman in college. She's from Arkansas. So shout out to Kaylin Brown. Then going over to Bryan Clay. What stood out to me there was one race in particular, my favorite race, the 800. Michaela Rose. I've said her name many times on the show, but I actually watched the race, and wow, she soloed a 1:58:37, second fastest time in college ever behind Akeem Mo. She looked good. She went out fast, 57, looked strong closing. I mean, I'm almost speechless. Like, to solo a 1:58, that's impressive. So again, really, really excited to see her and Juliet Whitaker from Stanford at NCAAs in a couple of months. That is going to be fast, right? Oh, yeah. So, and then got to give a shout out to a field event. Cuba's Perez. She produced the longest distance throw since 1989. So
since 1989?
yes, wow. 73.09 meters. So her quest for Olympic gold is off to a strong start. Again, don't know much about discus, but when you throw the furthest since 1989, you gotta respect it. So those were some of my highlights from the weekend. What about you?
I mean, very well done.
Thank you.
Very well done. For me, it's 3, and I could talk about at least 15.
Yeah, I know you could.
So I'm trying to, be a little better. But it's always tough because there's so many great performances. But I got to see some of these runs. And for me, sometimes it's not so much about the time, but it's how it looks. And so Courtney Lindsay in that 200, man. This, like, some of the guys that he beat, he's going to compete against those guys, right? Not only at U.S. trials, but if he does make the U.S. team at the Olympics, right? And so how he ran this 1988, and then the man, after he crossed the line, he just put him to sleep like Steph Curry. I said, that's what we do. That's how we feel him. But he didn't look tired. He looked like he had another gear in him, right? So, and again, he ran 10:28 at Miramar. Not a crazy time, but massive headwind. But it goes to show that if you run 988, you're in that sub 10 shape right there.
1988.
Yeah. So this is great for him. And remember in the last episode, I said, you know, when the time isn't there, the field who you beat, you become confident. Okay. This is a confident man right now. And he's looking good and he's feeling good. And you know, man, you got that 1988, like, there's more to it. And it's April.
Yeah. Can you tell me more? But I don't know much about him. He's not a name I hear. You hear Noah Lyles, you hear Christian Coleman, Trayvon, Fred Curley. Did he make the world team last year?
I am not 100% sure.
Okay.
Because my memory is not that great. But I remember him running at Texas Tech.
Okay.
And he had a phenomenal year. I think he actually did make the world team last year. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I remember him from Texas Tech. He had a phenomenal year his last year, which parlayed into him, you know, getting the Nike contract.
So first year pro.
Yeah, first year pro, if I remember correctly. But there's also a lot of pressure with coming out in your first year to perform.
Yeah, and most people don't.
And he's not feeling that, at least right now.
I wonder where he's training.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna look more into him because he's someone to follow.
Probably somewhere one of those Florida coaches.
Yeah. Maybe he stayed at Texas Tech.
No. I think he's training with Aaron Brown's camp, Dennis Mitchell. I could be wrong.
Okay, if we're gonna do our research.
Yeah.
Or let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. So incredible run for him, man. That's gotta feel good. He keeps pushing from here. Also, Chris Robinson, 400-meter hurdler from my alma mater, 47.95 in the 400-meter hurdles. Incredible time, man. I think anytime you can run that well and how you look when you're running, man, he did a great job. And it's April, so still early. It's gonna get better. The 400-meter hurdles in America, I think Ry's a beast. He's gonna do his thing. But it's still some great opportunities to make this team. It's a very competitive and, you know, an open event, right? You know Ry's gonna be there. You know Ry Benjamin gonna do his thing, and you know what he can run and what he's done. But man, you know, there are some great opportunities here. Like I remember a couple years back when Aldridge Bailey, who's new to the sport, new to the event, almost made that team, finished 4th place, right? So if he can continue this pattern going into SECs and going into NCAAs, and if he's not too tired, man, he can really do some nice work because he's got a lot of running left. But he's gonna eat well coached, and so that was one of the highlights for me. Now the other one was, I'm sure you all saw it. Your alma mater,
Go Vols,
Lady Vols. Got to say it right.
Okay.
You always tell me that.
I don't think they consider themselves that anymore.
Oh, just Vols?
I think only the it's weird, like only the basketball team calls themselves the Lady Vols, but but I'll always be a Lady Vol, so go Lady Vols.
Jesus Sears, man. I mean, 1077. I saw it already. Her top end is looking ridiculous right now.
I thought you were joking when you told me. I was like, what was the win?
Oh yeah. Win legal. Like track and field athletes, if you're a track and field athlete, you know the sport of track and field, you know what 1077 is. But if you are someone who kind of knows, kind of follows, a casual, to put this into perspective, I opened up my grade 11 year in high school. My first race, I ran 1084. She wasn't too far behind me. Right?
No, she beat you. She ran 1077.
Oh, that's right. My math was up. Yeah. She beat me. Oh man. Yeah, she beat me. I don't know where my head went. You know, she beat me. Beat me.
I mean, the most casual listeners, they know Sha'Carri, and she's now second behind Sha'Carri in college. So Yes, that's how fast that is.
Yeah, it's fast. Oh man, I would have been on her hip.
Yeah.
And she would have pulled away from me in high school in the 11th grade. Oh man. So it goes to show that like this is fast.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned the pros, they went 10.94.
Yeah.
And she, a collegiate, went 10.77. So that just shows you.
She's on right now.
She should go sit down.
She should go sit down for a while. Like, like she should go sit down. I'm gonna come back at SECs. I'm not gonna see y'all for another 3 weeks. I'm gonna chill out because this is a great time. Mm-hmm. But sometimes running fast at the wrong time is not the good result, not the good outcome.
Running fast at the wrong time, yeah.
You know, we've done that. Mm-hmm. We've ran fast at the wrong time. You know, so incredible time. And hopefully, you know, this got to stay healthy as all athletes have to. So, which goes to show what is our performer of the week. And I have a question that I want to ask you after this.
Okay. Well, my performer of the week, I've said her name before, mostly during the indoor season. Parker Valby, the Florida Gator, went out and broke the collegiate record in the 10,000 meter. That's 25 laps around the track. So just anybody who tries to do that, kudos to you, because I'm not doing that. And to go out and not only break, but shatter the collegiate record by 28 seconds. She's just in a league of her own right now. And I don't even think this is her last year. It probably will be. She probably will go pro. That would be my guess. But yeah, shout out to Parker. Again, she needs to go sit down. Go sit down and just rest them legs because it is a long season. It's a long, especially if the Olympics are in her sights, which I'm sure they are. So new NCAA record holder in the 10K. That is my performer of the week.
Wow, that's 26 laps?
25 laps.
25 laps. I mean, at that point, it might as well be 30. You know what I'm saying? That's too much, man.
That's a whole nother mile. But what's another mile at that point?
At that point, like, might as well keep going. My performer of the week, man, it's hard to ignore. For me, as a sprinter that's biased, it's got to be Jacia Sears, man. I mean, again, to be able to run that fast and how she pulled away from competition. And that was a fast heat. Like, this was a fast weekend across the board, right? So for her to be able to do that and still look strong, look like she still got a little bit more, you know, again, as you told Valby, she got to sit down a little bit, rest up the body a little bit, because this young woman has more to come. And if she can stay healthy and get enough rest, man, Olympic trials in the U.S. is going to be even that much hotter.
Yeah, time it right. Hope she times it right. Yeah, hope her coach, she's just listening to her coach, right? So I hope her coach really times it right. She'll be on that team. Mm-hmm.
So before we close it out, well, let's go back. Let us know your performer of the week in the comment section below. Before we close it out in the Run Your Race topic, we were having a conversation kind of on the way to church. It's tough to really duplicate good years. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you come out hot one year and the next year just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? What happened?
Yeah.
You know, how tough is that sometimes? Because one time we were literally calculating how many good years that we had in track and field, and we were like, oh my goodness, wasn't really a whole lot.
Yeah, and we're hard on ourselves, but still, it's like, because you, again, if you're a fan and you watch your favorite athlete and you're like, man, he had a phenomenal year last year. He ran this. Why is he not running this year? And it's a common question. You know, what happened? Why are they not doing what they did last year? But it's harder than it sounds. You know, it really is that consistency. It's hard, and sometimes you just have a magical year. Mm-hmm. It's hard to duplicate, or sometimes you're not handling the pressure well. That it's just now the target's on you and you don't know how to handle it, and it's showing your performances. Sometimes for whatever reason you switch coaches, could be money, could be whatever, and now your body is learning a whole new training program, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're battling injury. So sometimes stuff is happening off the track that you're having a hard time handling. You never know, but it is very hard to come out and have an amazing year and to do that again and again and again. And kudos to those athletes that do that. The one that sticks out to me is, of course, Bolt. He had just fantastic year after fantastic year after fantastic year. And it is very, very hard to do that.
So I just want to ask you that as we transition into the run your race topic, because it kind of goes hand in hand. You're a big how person, you know, and you're a step-by-step person in the season of track and field, in the journey of life. I've always tried to have a short-term approach, but always remember the long-term goal when things get a little bit more challenging. So a short-term approach of things, you know, if you want to lose, you know, say you want to lose 40 pounds this year, right? Well, what's the short-term approach? Let's just try to lose 1 a week. And that has always helped me when I was training in track. It's like, man, the main thing here is to make this team. We got to run around this time frame as we're getting closer to the trials or whatever. So it helped me when I didn't see a fast time right away. But how were some ways that you rewired your mind when you're in practice and you're like, yo, these girls are working me. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. How do you gather yourself and not let your thoughts wander away?
It reminds me of my last year. My very last year was a tough year.
That was a year.
Yeah, coming off the broken foot. I really started training in like late March, early April. We went off to Flagstaff and I was getting dusted by Sabrina Sutherland, Hannah Green. I remember I would call you like, yeah, I got work to get in practice. But you would be like, you all right? I'm like, yep. Because I am slowly getting better. Right now the gap is big, but next week it'll be a little bit smaller and smaller. And so that short-term approach, one day at a time, just 1 week at a time, close the gap. Not really comparing myself to them, but using them as a gauge. They're where I want to be. So let me just close that gap one day at a time. And I remember opening up that season in 201. And after everything I had been through, to the outside world, it's like, I didn't go and cut it. But for me, I'm like, that is a great start, Nelly. So you have to kind of remember, this is what I've been through. This is what I'm coming from. And so this is where I'm at, but it's not where I'm going to stay. I remember the next race was 159. So like you said, appreciate the short-term wins. Right.
Yeah,
and so you got to celebrate the small wins. You have that big goal, but also have smaller goals on your way to that big goal. And just know, like, it for me, I was like, it will be better. By the time I get to the trials, if I keep putting in this work, I'll be ready. And I just had that self-talk and just telling myself, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready. I'm not ready right now, but I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready. So a lot of self-talk, a lot of you pouring into me, like, it's all right. It's all right. You're getting closer. You're getting closer. So that self-talk, and when you don't have it in you to pour it into yourself, make sure you have people around you who can remind you, like, do you know who you are? Do you know what you've done? You can do it again. So it takes a village, and it wasn't easy getting my butt kicked every day, but I was pretty mature at that point. It was my last year in my career. So, but yeah, I said a lot, but I like how you put it on the screen: short-term approach, long-term goal.
Yeah, you did a great job of saying, okay, I'm 8 weeks out. 8 weeks out. She always said, I'm like, yo, why should she keep saying that? That's 2 months. What are you talking about? She would say 8 weeks out. She's like, I need to be here by 4 weeks out. And then I was like, oh, that's how she's processing her progress, how she's judging her progress. And so, for me, it's when I was running, it was always just like, man, I need to feel fast at a certain point. So sometimes, especially in my collegiate years, in my junior college, I remember we did a workout one time, and man, it was like 300s. I don't really go past 200, but it was like 300s, and he had like 7 of them, and coach was like, hey, we need to hit this time here. Now, again, this was in the base season. And I remember after the first one, and I hit the time, he was just like, look, man, this is the work that we need to do now so you can run fast in May. You can run fast in April. Like, I always remembered that.
I'm having PTSD from my base work.
Yeah.
You're right. It was so important.
Like, I I always remember that. And shout out to Coach Nigel Bigby. He was one of the first coaches to kind of break it down for me like that. And so for me, I made the adjustment as, man, in the base season, I'm going to push my threshold as high as I could. I'm going to get as strong as I can. I'm going to make sure I do everything that I can and then some, because I know if I prepare well now, man, May is going to look great. And so it just made me think it's every time you don't want to do something, man, do it. You know what I'm saying? And do it with a good attitude and a good spirit about it. Because when you think the short-term goal and you remember the long-term goal in mind, it's like, man, I can be present now. I can focus now. I can work today. Because if I can work Monday, Tuesday, your Saturday sessions are going to be a lot greater. And so short-term approach, long-term goal, they both go hand in hand. So just something that kind of resonated to us. We were talking the same thing, just different ways about it. And I'm sure many others do the same too. So I don't know what many of you may be going through, facing, working on, trying to accomplish, trying to achieve. But as the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? That's what they say. I never ate an elephant before. I just heard the sayings.
I don't know if I ever heard that.
Well, some stuff, is come out of the woodworks. All I'm trying to say is you can still, the long-term goal, always have that in mind, but you can't get the long-term all in one day. But you can chop it up day by day, week by week, month by month, and man, you can get there because it is possible. So that's episode number 10. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, he's about to put me through a tough workout. So,
oh yeah, we're definitely going to do that.
So you guys get your workout in today, even if it's just a little walk outside, get moving. It's important for the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit. So
don't forget to like, comment, share this channel, subscribe to the show, man. Let us know what you're getting from it. Let us know what you enjoy. Let us know what you don't like. Let us know what you would like to see improvement on, and we'll do our best to move accordingly as so. So episode 10 is out the way, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.